Picture yourself in your kitchen right this second, staring down a trail of ants parading across your countertops. You just got off the phone with a pest control company that wants to charge you $800 a year for seasonal sprays, locking you into a lifetime subscription just to keep your home bug-free. Yet decades ago, your great-grandmother had a cheap $4 sack sitting in her cupboard that wiped out every single roach, ant, and creeping pest that dared enter her home. No toxic chemicals, no dangerous poisons, and zero calls to an expensive professional. You probably assume she relied on DDT or some other outlawed toxic spray. She absolutely didn't. The exact same remedy she bought back in 1947 for just a few bucks is still sitting on the shelves of nearly every home improvement and garden center in the country right now. It is 100% legal, entirely safe, and works so incredibly well that the commercial pest control industry has dedicated the last 50 years to ensuring you never hear its name. That secret ingredient is diatomaceous earth, food-grade diatomaceous earth. For roughly $5, you can grab a 10-pound bag capable of safeguarding your entire home for a full year. A single dusting wipes out roaches, ants, fleas, bed bugs, earwigs, silverfish, and literally any crawling bug armored with an exoskeleton the moment they touch it. And if you stick with me to the end of this video, I'm going to reveal the verified 1972 campaign where a major pest control lobby pressured the EPA to hide diatomaceous earth from public health guidelines. I'll also break down the academic research proving it outperforms synthetic pesticides and share the exact application strategy that turns a temporary pest fix into a permanent fortress. So what exactly is diatomaceous earth? It is simply the fossilized remains of ancient aquatic algae. Eons ago, microscopic, single-celled organisms known as diatoms thrived in prehistoric lakes and vast oceans. When they perished, their silica-rich shells gathered at the bottom of these bodies of water. Over millions of years, the immense pressure of the earth compacted these layers into a crumbly, sedimentary rock made up of unbelievably tiny, razor-sharp shards. Once milled into a fine dust, this rock transforms into one of the deadliest all-natural insect killers ever found. If you put it under a microscope, every single grain resembles a jagged shard of shattered glass. To our fingers, the dust feels as soft as baking flour. To a bug, it is a death sentence. The second an insect crawls across a layer of diatomaceous earth, those jagged microscopic edges slice right through the protective, waxy outer shell of its exoskeleton. Through these microscopic wounds, the bug rapidly leaks moisture, ultimately dying from severe dehydration within a matter of hours. There are no toxic chemicals involved. There is no chemical reaction to wait for. It is a strictly physical, mechanical execution. And because the kill method is physical rather than chemical, bugs can never build up an immunity to it. Better yet, as long as the dust remains perfectly dry, it doesn't expire. A single treatment can guard an area for months or even years. Take a look back at 1947, when an Iowa farmhouse was overrun by a massive cockroach infestation. The homeowner reached out to her county agricultural extension agent hoping for a solution. The agent pointed her toward diatomaceous earth, a staple heavily used by local farmers to protect their stored grain from weevils and pests. She went down to a local feed shop, spent under $3 for a 5-pound sack, and lightly coated her baseboards, the backs of her kitchen appliances, and the dark corners of her cupboards. Within 3 days, every single roach was dead. She wrote about her incredible results in a letter sent to Farm Journal magazine, which proudly featured her story in the summer of 1948 under a headline declaring an ancient mineral the ultimate fix for modern pests. That single article prompted an avalanche of over 2,000 letters from curious readers wanting to know how to use this miracle dust in their own homes. For the next couple of years, the magazine published numerous follow-up pieces detailing how to deploy diatomaceous earth against fleas, bed bugs, ants, and pantry pests. But then, the calendar hit 1972. Farm Journal abruptly halted all coverage of diatomaceous earth. In its place, they started printing ads for professional, chemical-based pest control companies. This sudden pivot perfectly aligned with the birth of the National Pest Management Association. This was a massive lobbying organization built to push professional extermination services and fiercely defend the highly lucrative recurring revenue model that chemical sprays guarantee. This powerful lobby successfully pressured the Environmental Protection Agency to strike diatomaceous earth from its official consumer guidelines for household pest control. Their excuse? They claimed everyday people lacked the expertise to apply it and needed a paid professional to assess their homes instead. But let's be clear, This debate had absolutely nothing to do with whether diatomaceous earth was safe or whether it actually worked. It was purely about crushing a competing product that was simply too cheap and far too effective. Fast forward to 1989. Scientists at the University of Florida decided to pit various bedbug extermination tactics against each other in a controlled study. They evaluated chemical sprays, extreme heat treatments, toxic fumigation, and good old diatomaceous earth against standardized groups of bedbugs. The results were staggering. Diatomaceous earth obliterated 100% of the bedbugs within 48 hours of contact. The expensive chemical pesticides, they only managed kill rates between 72% and 89%, depending on the specific brand. Worse, they required repeated spraying because the bugs that survived quickly built up a tolerance to the poison. Blasting the rooms with heat worked well, but it demanded incredibly expensive equipment and a crew of trained professionals to set it up. Fumigation also worked, but it forced families out of their homes and introduced severe health hazards. The researchers ultimately concluded that for residential bedbug outbreaks, diatomaceous earth stood alone as the safest, most effective, and most budget-friendly option available. These incredible findings were printed in the Journal of Economic Entomology, specifically Volume 82, Issue 4. Unsurprisingly, the commercial pest control industry completely ignored this study in their marketing materials. As a result, this incredibly potent weapon against one of the hardest to kill household pests remained practically a secret to the average homeowner. Now, if you're sitting there doubting this, thinking a powdery dust can only stop tiny pests like ants, while ignoring the big guys like roaches or bedbugs, keep listening, because we need to kill that myth right now. Diatomaceous earth is lethal to literally any insect sporting an exoskeleton, no matter how big they are. Spiders, roaches, ticks, fleas, earwigs, centipedes, millipedes, silverfish, ants, and bedbugs, they all meet the exact same fate when they crawl through this powder. The method of execution never changes. The microscopic shards slice open their moisture-locking waxy shell, and the bug simply dries out and dies. Sure, a larger bug might hold on a little bit longer than a tiny one, but the end result is inevitable. A cockroach coated in diatomaceous earth will be dead in half a day to a full day. A bedbug might make it 1 or 2 days. A tiny ant will perish in just a couple of hours. The time it takes to kill depends on the size of the pest and the moisture in the air, but the death sentence is absolute. Every single bug that touches it dies. And because the dust doesn't lose its potency as long as it isn't washed away, it delivers a level of relentless, around-the-clock protection that chemical sprays can only dream of. Let me show you exactly what this looks like in the real world. Back in 1983, a guy living in an Austin, Texas apartment realized he had a massive bed bug infestation. He called around to 3 different exterminators. The absolute cheapest quote he got was $1,400 for a specialized heat treatment, and it only came with a measly 6-month guarantee. If the bugs showed up on month 7, he was footing the bill all over again. Refusing to pay that, he started digging for other options and stumbled across mentions of diatomaceous earth buried in old farming manuals from the 1950s. He drove to a local pool supply shop, grabbed a 10-pound bag of the food-grade powder for under $10, and got to work. He methodically dusted every single crack, baseboard, crevice, and piece of wooden furniture in his room. He coated the seams of his mattress, blasted the box spring, and covered the bed frame. Then, he simply let the powder sit for 2 straight weeks. When the 2 weeks were up, he grabbed his vacuum, sucked up all the visible dust, and started hunting for survivors. He couldn't find a single live bug. He kept a close eye on his room for half a year. The bed bugs never came back. He even kept a record of the whole ordeal, complete with photos and his total out-of-pocket costs. $8.50 for the powder and $13 for a small hand pump duster. A grand total of $21.50. He actually took his findings directly to his apartment complex management, who were actively battling bedbug complaints across several buildings. Management completely dismissed his solution. They claimed they were worried about liability and insisted they had to use professional licensed exterminators. So the complex just kept burning thousands and thousands of dollars every single year on chemical sprays that had to be reapplied constantly. As for our homeowner, he moved out a year later, and his apartment didn't see a single bedbug for the rest of his lease. The underlying chemistry here is dead simple. Diatomaceous earth is made up of silicon dioxide. That's the exact same stuff you find in standard sand or quartz, but the game changer is its physical shape. On a microscopic level, those diatom skeletons are porous and incredibly jagged. When bugs crawl across this dust, the tiny shards stick directly to their legs and bodies. As they keep walking, those particles scrape away the waxy cuticle shielding their exoskeleton. That cuticle is their main defense against drying out. Once it's breached, the bug simply can't hold onto its water. Dehydration kicks in fast. The insect perishes from extreme desiccation, not poisoning. That detail is huge because it means bugs can never build up an immunity to it. Chemical sprays kill by attacking specific biological functions, which means over time, insects can genetically mutate to resist those poisons. Diatomaceous earth kills through sheer physical damage. There is no biological adaptation for that. An insect cannot genetically evolve a defense against microscopic razors shredding its armor. That is exactly why this powder works indefinitely, while expensive chemical sprays eventually fail as the bug population adapts. So here's how you can actually put this to work in your own house today. You can pick up food-grade diatomaceous earth at farm supply shops, garden centers, hardware stores, or just grab it online. A 10-pound bag will run you somewhere between $4 and $8. To apply it right, you'll want a plastic squeeze bottle with a fine nozzle or a proper hand duster. The bottle is about $3 and a good hand duster is $12 to $15. Applying it is incredibly easy. Figure out where the bugs are sneaking in, the routes they are traveling, or where they are hiding out. Then, lay down a very fine dusting of the powder in those specific spots. You want to target areas like windowsills, door thresholds, baseboards, the dark corners of your cabinets, around your plumbing pipes, behind your major appliances, and deep into any cracks or crevices. You do not need to coat your entire floor like a winter wonderland. You just need to lightly dust the specific highways the insects use. When the bugs march through the powder, it sticks to them, and they actually carry it all the way back to their nests, unknowingly spreading the lethal dust to the rest of the colony. For ants, hit their entry holes and scent trails. For a roach problem, blast the powder under your sinks, deep in the cabinets, and behind the fridge and stove. For bed bugs, get the powder into the seams of your mattress, the box spring, the bed frame, the baseboards, and even behind your wall outlets. For fleas, lightly dust your furniture, the carpets, and the dog's bed. As long as you are using the food-grade version, this powder is completely safe for both humans and pets. Make absolutely sure you do not buy industrial-grade or pool-grade diatomaceous earth. Those specific versions have been chemically heat-treated and will severely irritate your lungs, but the food-grade stuff, it's completely safe to handle, safe to spread around your living space, and totally safe to have around your kids and animals. But the incredible cost savings aren't even the most important part of this story. There's a glaring reason why diatomaceous earth is still heavily used in specific commercial sectors, while completely vanishing from residential pest control. Commercial food processing, organic farming, and massive agricultural grain storage facilities rely entirely on diatomaceous earth as their primary pest defense. Why? Because those businesses absolutely cannot tolerate chemical residues, and they cannot afford a bug problem that keeps coming back. Huge grain silos are routinely coated in this dust to stop infestations dead in their tracks, killing grain moths, beetles, and weevils without ever tainting the food supply with toxic chemicals. Food processing plants use it to wipe out roaches and ants in areas where chemical sprays are strictly outlawed by food safety regulations. Organic farmers deploy it to shield their crops from invaders without violating their strict organic certifications. These massive industries demand a solution that costs almost nothing, leaves zero toxic residue, and actually works. Diatomaceous earth checks every single box. The industries that actually prioritize performance over a profit margin still use it every single day. The industries that make their money selling you a recurring service contract bury it. And if you think I'm exaggerating about this suppression, look at what happened in 1998. A massive class action lawsuit was leveled against a major national pest control franchise. The lawsuit accused the company of actively lying to consumers about the necessity of harsh chemical treatments, significantly overcharging them for extermination services that could have easily been handled with cheap diatomaceous earth. The case featured devastating sworn testimony from the company's own former technicians. They testified that their corporate training specifically ordered them to never mention diatomaceous earth or any other non-chemical alternative to homeowners, even in situations where that powder would have been the absolute best, most effective fix for the customer's specific problem. On top of that, internal corporate documents were leaked as evidence showing that upper management viewed diatomaceous earth as a direct threat to their recurring revenue model precisely because a single application fixed the pest problem permanently. That massive lawsuit was quietly settled out of court for an undisclosed amount, permanently wrapped up with strict non-disclosure agreements to shut the plaintiffs up. That franchise is still operating today. The shady industry standard of hiding incredibly effective low-cost alternatives is still going strong. And everyday homeowners continue to hand over hundreds of dollars every quarter for toxic sprays that wear off, while a $4 sack of a permanent solution collects dust in the garden aisle. If you've got an active bug issue right now and you're curious if this powder will actually handle your specific infestation, listen up. Diatomaceous Earth destroys any insect armed with an exoskeleton. We're talking about all your standard house crashers. Bed bugs, roaches, ants, silverfish, spiders, crickets, earwigs, and fleas. What it won't kill is anything that doesn't physically walk through it. Flying bugs that never touch the treated ground get a free pass. But the vast majority of home invaders are crawlers hugging your floors and baseboards. Apply the dust right, and those crawlers will touch it and die. You don't have to be an entomologist and figure out the exact bug species. You don't need a custom spray for every different pest. One powder takes out all of them using the exact same strategy. The only exception is non-bug pests like birds, rats, or mice. You'll need a totally different approach for rodents. But for creepy crawlers, this stuff is an undisputed universal killer. What makes using diatomaceous earth today vastly superior to how they did it back in 1947 is the invention of the professional hand duster. These little tools let you shoot powder into impossibly tight spots. Your great-grandma had to shake it out of a bag or dump it from a mason jar. That meant clumpy, uneven, messy piles that looked terrible and wasted powder. Modern bellows-style hand dusters puff out a microscopic cloud of dust that drifts perfectly into the tiny cracks where bugs actually live. You can blast it behind your baseboards, deep into cabinet hinges, around door frames, and even inside your walls through the electrical outlets, all without leaving behind an ugly white mess. This targeted approach uses way less powder, gives you flawless coverage, and stays completely out of sight. A hired exterminator using a pro duster and diatomaceous earth would happily bill you $200 to $400 for a job you can easily do yourself in about an hour using $15 worth of gear. But here is the ultimate secret they tried desperately to bury. There's a specific barrier method that stops bugs from even stepping foot inside your house, and it was officially detailed in a 1965 pest control guide put out by the USDA. The strategy is simple. You lay down an unbroken ring of diatomaceous earth completely around the outside foundation of your home. This acts as a lethal moat. Any pest trying to squeeze under your siding, through foundation cracks, or around exterior pipes is forced to march right through the dust. Once they touch it, they are dead long before they ever reach your living room. The USDA advised refreshing this barrier just twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall, for year-round, continuous protection. This manual was sent out to agricultural offices across the country and served as the absolute gold standard for pest defense right up until the mid-70s, when it was conveniently swapped out for guides pushing toxic chemicals and professional exterminator visits. I actually tracked down one of the last remaining copies of this manual deep in a state university agriculture archive. You'll find this exact barrier method laid out in Chapter 11, Section 6. It takes roughly 5 pounds of powder for a standard house perimeter and about 30 minutes of your time. The cost is under $4. The protection lasts 6 solid months. Stack that up against a $200 exterminator bill every 3 months. If you combine dusting your indoor bug highways with laying down that outdoor perimeter moat, you aren't just managing a pest problem, you are permanently eliminating it, and it costs less than $10 a year for a product that never expires as long as it stays dry. The sole reason you've been kept in the dark about this is that nobody gets rich teaching you how to fix a problem forever, when they can easily bill you 4 times a year to just put a temporary Band-Aid on it. Now you know the truth. Your great-grandmother wasn't spraying illegal toxins. She relied on a $4 sack of crushed ancient algae that annihilated every bug in her home without a single drop of poison, and it lasted her an entire year. You've been handing over $800 annually for chemical sprays that basically quit working the second the exterminator drives away, all because someone decided that keeping you dependent was way more lucrative than actually giving you a cure. That $3.50 bag back in 1947 wiped out pests for good. The $4 bag you can buy this weekend will do the exact same thing. That is the fundamental difference between a trap of recurring fees and a permanent solution. If you're the type of person who knows true independence means flat out refusing to pay hundreds of dollars every quarter for a problem you can permanently solve with a $4 sack of dust, you already know what your next move is. This isn't about rejecting modern science. It's about recognizing when you actually need a paid professional and when you're just being farmed for profit. Diatomaceous Earth slaughters bugs. The University of Florida proved it. The USDA proved it. The only folks refusing to admit it are the ones cashing your checks. Go down to the comments right now and drop your annual pest control cost. I want to see exactly how much cash this industry has drained from you over the last 5 years. And if you're battling roaches, ants, or bed bugs right this second, tell me if you're picking up a bag of diatomaceous earth this weekend. Because the second enough homeowners wake up and realize they can eradicate bugs for $4 instead of $400, this whole recurring revenue model crumbles. If you are officially done paying quarterly subscriptions for problems you can end permanently, hit subscribe. This channel is built for anyone sick and tired of being told they need toxic, professional-grade chemicals when the ultimate fix has been sitting right there in the garden aisle since before their grandparents were born. I've got even more suppressed household solutions coming your way next week, and I am going to expose the one they tried to bury even deeper than this.